India, the world's largest democracy, faced its gravest test in 1975. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi declared a state of emergency, suspending fundamental rights and plunging the nation into darkness. This period, from June 1975 to March 1977, remains a chilling reminder of the fragility of democracy. The emergency was a culmination of political turmoil, economic instability, and a power struggle between the government and the judiciary. Understanding this dark chapter is crucial to appreciating the resilience of Indian democracy. The narrative of the emergency begins much before 1975. To truly grasp the gravity of the situation, one must delve into the years leading up to it. The year 1969 marked a turning point in Indian politics. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, riding a wave of popularity after the 1971 war with Pakistan, nationalized 14 major banks. This move, while popular with the masses, alienated the business class and signaled a leftward shift in economic policy. The nationalization drive further consolidated Indira Gandhi's power, but it also sowed the seeds of discontent among certain sections of society. Meanwhile, India was facing a severe economic crisis. The 1971 war with Pakistan, while a military victory, had put a strain on the economy. Inflation was rampant and unemployment was on the rise. The government's socialist policies were blamed for the economic woes. Public discontent began to manifest in the form of protests and strikes. Opposition parties, sensing a shift in public mood, stepped up their criticism of the government. Adding fuel to the fire, a series of corruption scandals rocked the Indira Gandhi government. The opposition accused the government of nepotism and misuse of power. The most damaging of these was the Nagarwala scandal, which implicated Indira Gandhi's office in a financial scam. These scandals eroded public trust in the government and further emboldened the opposition. As the economic and political situation deteriorated, the stage was set for a confrontation between the government and the judiciary. The Supreme Court, under Chief Justice A.N. Ray, emerged as a vocal critic of the government's policies. The government, in turn, viewed the judiciary as an impediment to its socialist agenda. This clash of institutions would have far-reaching consequences for Indian democracy. The conflict between the Indira Gandhi government and the judiciary came to a head in 1973. The government passed the 24th Amendment to the Constitution, which sought to curtail the power of the judiciary to review laws passed by Parliament. The Supreme Court, however, struck down certain provisions of the amendment, asserting its independence. This set the stage for a major showdown between the two branches of government. Supreme Court Judge. In the landmark Kesavananda Bharati case of 1973, the Supreme Court upheld the basic structure doctrine. This doctrine held that Parliament could amend the Constitution but not alter its fundamental features, such as the separation of powers and judicial review. The judgment was a blow to the government's attempts to concentrate power. The government responded by appointing A.N. Ray as Chief Justice of India, superseding 3 senior judges. This move was widely criticized as an attempt to undermine the independence of the judiciary. The appointment of Justice Ray was seen as a blatant attempt to install a pliant judiciary, one that would toe the government's line. This blatant disregard for judicial seniority sent shockwaves through the legal community and further eroded public trust in the government. The Indira Gandhi government, feeling increasingly cornered by the judiciary and facing mounting public anger, saw a threat to its authority. The stage was set for a decisive and drastic action, one that would have far-reaching consequences for the world's largest democracy. The conflict between the executive and the judiciary reached a boiling point, with neither side willing to back down. This clash of institutions would soon engulf the entire nation in a crisis. Section 4. The verdict that shook a nation. The political atmosphere in India was reaching fever pitch by 1975. Indira Gandhi, facing growing unrest and opposition, found herself at a crossroads.
On June 12, 1975, the Allahabad High Court delivered a verdict that shook the nation. The court found Indira Gandhi guilty of electoral malpractice during the 1971 Lok Sabha elections.
The court's judgment sent shockwaves through the political establishment. While the offences were considered relatively minor, the court declared her election invalid and barred her from holding elected office for 6 years. I was found guilty of minor electoral offences, including the use of government machinery for campaigning.
The opposition parties demanded Indira Gandhi's resignation, and protests erupted across the country.
The verdict was a major embarrassment for Indira Gandhi and threatened to bring down her government. Faced with mounting pressure and fearing the loss of her power, Indira Gandhi made a fateful decision.
Instead of resigning, I chose a different path.
On the night of June 25, 1975, she invoked Article 352 of the Constitution, declaring a state of emergency on grounds of internal disturbance. This marked the beginning of one of the darkest chapters in independent India's history. Section 5. A dark day dawns. Emergency declared. The declaration of emergency on June 25, 1975, marked a watershed moment in Indian history. With a single stroke of the pen, Indira Gandhi suspended fundamental rights, imposed press censorship, and unleashed a crackdown on political opponents.
The nation woke up to a new reality, one where dissent was silenced and fear reigned supreme. Immediately after declaring emergency, the government moved swiftly to consolidate its power.
Opposition leaders, including Jaya Prakash Narayan, Morarji Desai, and Atal Bihari Vajpayee, were arrested. Thousands of political activists, journalists, and intellectuals were detained without trial under the Draconian Maintenance of Internal Security Act, or MISA.
Censorship was imposed on all forms of media. Newspapers were forced to toe the government line, and any criticism of the emergency was met with swift retribution.
The freedom of the press, a cornerstone of democracy, was effectively extinguished.
The government's propaganda machinery went into overdrive, portraying the emergency as a necessary measure to restore order and discipline.
The imposition of emergency was a blatant assault on Indian democracy. Overnight, the country was transformed into a virtual dictatorship.
The events of June 25, 1975, served as a stark reminder of the fragility of democratic institutions and the ease with which they can be dismantled.
The emergency would cast a long shadow over Indian politics and society for years to come.